At first, many thought it was just ordinary fatigue. The look in Jungkook's eyes that looked dimmer in the last few appearances, his gestures that were no longer as energetic as before, and the long pause he took from the public spotlight made various speculations emerge. Some said he was too tired, others said the pressure of the entertainment industry began to eat away at his spirit. However, as time went on, one fact after another came to light. What has been regarded as fatigue turns out to hold a big secret behind Jungkook's success that has been rarely realized by the public. Jungkook is not a new name in the global music industry. From a young age, he has lived under the spotlight, the demands of perfection, and a schedule that barely knows the word rest. But just at the point when many thought he was declining, Jungkook showed a different pattern. It didn't really disappear. He chose to slow down. This decision, which was initially seen as a sign of physical and mental exhaustion, turned out to be a very strategic, conscious step. People close to Jungkook once described him as a very reflective person. Behind the image of golden magne who always smiles and looks perfect, Jungkook is known to often question every step he takes. He not only works hard, but also thinks hard. When his body showed signs of fatigue, Jungkook did not fight it blindly. He listened. This is where the first secret comes into view, the ability to recognize one's own limits, something that idols of his age rarely have. The fatigue seen on the surface is actually a space for Jungkook to deepen quality, not just quantity. He began to be more selective towards projects, more careful in choosing looks, and more focused on the creative process that often goes unnoticed by the camera. As the public awaited his arrival on the big stage, Jungkook instead spent time in rehearsal rooms, recording studios, and quiet moments that formed a strong foundation for his next work. In an industry that moves fast and demands continuity of exposure, Jungkook's move feels counterintuitive. But therein lies the intelligence. He understands that long-term success is not built from performing without stopping, but from the ability to continue to grow without losing identity. The fatigue he shows is not a sign of giving up, but rather a signal that he is rearranging his life and career priorities. The secret to Jungkook's success also lies in discipline that is rarely indulged. Many see only the final result: stable sound, stunning appearance, and achievement after achievement. Few are aware of the long routine he lives in silence. Even when looking tired in public, Jungkook maintains high standards for himself. He trains not because of demands, but because of an internal urge to be better than yesterday's version of himself. Interestingly, this phase, which is considered a period of fatigue, actually shows Jungkook's emotional maturity. He was no longer in a hurry to prove anything to the world. He is not reactive to negative comments or wild speculation. Instead, he chose silence, letting time and work do the talking. This attitude represents an important transformation, from a young idol hungry for recognition to an artist who understands the value of the process. For observant fans, these changes feel real. Jungkook looks calmer, more restrained, and more honest in expressing himself. He no longer tries to meet everyone's expectations, but instead focuses on what he really wants to convey through his music and presence. The fatigue that was once feared became the gateway to a more authentic version of Jungkook. Another secret that often goes unnoticed is the way Jungkook interprets rest. In the entertainment industry, a break is often perceived as a setback. But for Jungkook, rest is part of the strategy. He uses his downtime to recharge creativity, improve life balance, and strengthen mentality. The results are not immediately visible, but the impact is felt strongly when he returns with a more mature and purposeful energy. Jungkook's success today is not the result of sheer luck or a natural talent that continues to be squeezed endlessly. Success is born from the courage to acknowledge fatigue, accept limitations, and turn them into strengths. He does not cover his fatigue with pretense. It turns it into fuel to grow. When the public finally realized that Jungkook's exhaustion was not a sign of decline, the narrative changed. What was thought to be weakening turned out to be the foundation. What is thought to be fragile is actually evidence of toughness. Jungkook points out that success doesn't always look resplendent on the surface. Sometimes, success is born from a silent phase that many people misunderstand. Now, Jungkook's every move feels more meaningful. Each of its occurrence carries a different weight of experience and depth of emotions. He is no longer just an idol who performs perfectly, but a figure who grows with the process, fatigue, and self-reflection. That's where the real secret lies. Not on how often he performs, but on how he understands himself. What was once thought to be just ordinary fatigue is now proving to be a turning point. A crucial phase that quietly shapes Jungkook into a stronger, wiser, and more prepared figure for the great challenges ahead. And perhaps, this is the greatest lesson he left for the world, that listening to yourself is not a weakness, but the beginning of real success. The continuation of this phase led many industry observers to start looking at Jungkook from a different point of view. He is no longer talked about merely as an idol with versatile abilities, but as a figure who understands his own rhythm of life. In an industry that often forces artists to keep moving without pause, Jungkook shows that the courage to pause can be the most powerful form of control over his career. In his silence, Jungkook learns to manage pressure in a more adult way. He does not complain, nor does he seek sympathy. Rather, it processes everything internally. People who have worked with him say that Jungkook is getting more detailed, more thorough, and more aware of what he wants to achieve. The fatigue that used to appear on his face slowly turned into a calm that was difficult to fake. This change is also reflected in the way Jungkook interacts with his environment. He becomes more selective in opening up, but when speaking, his words feel more honest and full of meaning. No more feeling rushed or just carrying out obligations. Every step seemed to be carefully thought out, as if he was no longer racing with time, but walking side by side with it. Interestingly, it was precisely in this phase that Jungkook began to reap wider appreciation, not only from fans, but also from professionals. Many see its consistency not as the result of external pressure, but rather of a strong self-awareness. He does not work because he is afraid of being left behind, but because he knows where he wants to go. Fatigue that used to be mistaken for a drop in performance turns out to be a refining process. The secret to Jungkook's success is all the more apparent when looking at how he views failure and criticism. He does not see it as a threat, but as part of the journey. At a time when many public figures are stuck in a perfect image, Jungkook actually dares to appear as a human who can get tired, doubt, and rethink. This honesty creates a stronger emotional connection with the public, because people see him not as an untouchable figure, but as a real person. Behind the scenes, Jungkook is also known to be increasingly independent in making decisions. It does not completely surrender its career direction to the system. He engages, asks questions, and dares to say no when something doesn't align with the values he holds. This attitude, which may seem simple, is actually an important foundation of long-term success. He does not let fatigue make him passive. He uses it as an alarm to be more aware and sovereign over himself.